Hello, welcome to the next episode of the Shane Walsh podcast. So today's episode is with one of my returning clients who is abandoning me after 3 years of working together one to one. Liz was on the podcast probably a year, 15, 18 months ago, maybe. And now Liz is ready to fly the nest. And I think it's pretty cool to see where Liz is kind of coming from. So I will put in the notes Liz's previous episode. But Liz, welcome back again to having a chat and graduating, shall we say?
I know. It seems a little bit surreal having come back for the second one.
I know, yeah, I know.
And you
Uh,
invited me this time. I didn't ask.
yeah, you didn't just say, Shane, I'm doing a podcast. I'm coming on. Um, so for anyone who doesn't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. What were you looking for when you kind of first started working together?
Okay, I'm 57. I don't know. I actually can't believe I'm actually that age, but anyway. But I am single. I'm living in Dublin probably 20 plus years from Wexford. Family is in Wexford. I came into this process for fat loss. Um, I came from a background of yo-yo dieting, years and years and years of it. Diet starts Monday, fad diets, you name it, I probably was on it. Um, Lost weight on the diets, then put it when I finished the diet, put it all back on, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't get this. I seemed like I felt like I was an intelligent person, like, but I just couldn't actually figure out why I couldn't lose weight and you know, have it stay off as well. So I signed up for you. I had heard about you. I was listening to your podcast actually for a good while before I actually had the courage to say, sign me up there.
And here we
Um,
are. And here we are 3 years later.
Here we are. I actually didn't really realize that it would take 3 years. I know you'd never put a time limit on it, but I think after I did the first podcast, I mean, there was an awful lot of learning. I felt like because the years of dieting, you had to like nearly unpack everything that you had learned and relearn everything, if you know what I mean. And um, sorry, what was I saying now?
You were talking
I
about
knew that is menopause again.
relearning and unlearning.
Yeah, I just felt like that from the last podcast, I had learned a lot in that time when I did that first podcast, but after that, I felt there was a hell of a lot more to kind of go into, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, makes sense. When you look back now and you're kind of saying that the yo-yo dieting piece was the skill set that maybe we had struggled with.
Yeah,
What do you feel was what do you feel has been the biggest change for you in relation to tackling that?
mindset,
In what way?
as in what I think about things, as in, all these fad diets and everything like that. So, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, they were built on restriction completely. And, no carbs, no chocolate, no sugar. I mean, it was never going to work, to be quite honest. When you really think about it now, it was absolutely never going to work. In hindsight, I kind of went, how did I not think that anything like that was going to work? Because you're giving it up for a period of 8 weeks or whatever. And you give up carbs and everything, and you're training like 4 or 5 times a week, like, and there's absolutely no way that that was ever going to work. Need your carbs.
Yeah. Life is much better with carbs in it. I'm like,
And everything, like, and everything, nothing is, I've had like coming into this process, it's like kind of nothing is off the table. Like, and that was the best thing about it as well. I didn't have to give up anything. I
Was
just
that
everything in
scary for you?
moderation, like.
Was that scary for you at the beginning though when I said that there wasn't a list of foods that were off the table?
No, well, yeah, I was kind of like, well, how's that going to work? Like, it's just like,
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of
it's
people
not
feel.
going to work.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of people that's what they feel is like. Here's a list of foods. Shane, give me a list of foods that I should have or should have, and this is what's going to fix me, for example.
Yeah, and you kind of do feel like that. I do get it. Like, do you know, back where I was there, I did get all of that. That just tell me what you eat, Shane. And I know I asked you that a couple of
Mhm.
times. Just tell me what you eat, and you'd say, "Well, do this." I think it was actually going on a holiday. I asked you,
Yeah,
what will I do? It depends. The famous saying came back, it depends. It depends on how you want to treat your holiday. Whether you want to like, you know, go all out or not. And you kind of suggested something, oh, but do this, do that, or whatever. And I said, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So I
but
want to
but
enjoy my
that's huge.
holiday.
But that's huge. The fact that because I know when many people are have started doing a journey, and then they go on holidays, and they think in their heads that I don't want to ruin progress. I do get it, but
Yeah.
then I also know the question of when they're asking me to give them parameters or a rule for their holidays,
Mm.
they're looking for advice, but I also know that they're not going to listen to it, and rightly so.
Yeah.
They're almost just ticking the "I'm going on holidays" box. I better ask Shane just to kind of tick this box here.
I think it was like, no, I want to ask him because I want to behave like that on holiday, the way he says it, because that's what the process is. Do you know what I mean? That's what I felt like. But, and when you said, I can't actually remember, you said, I can't actually remember what you said to do on the holiday, but I kind of went, yeah, that's not going to work for me.
And I think I'd be surprised if it wasn't because I knew given the advice it wasn't going to work, and I just gave you the advice because you'd asked for it. So I had to
Yeah.
meet what you were looking for. And my guess is somewhere along the lines of eating regularly and maybe the 2 out of 4 method, which is
Yeah.
to start a main dessert drink, pick
Yeah.
2 out of 4. And most people aren't going to do that when they're on holiday because most people are probably going to have the 4 out of 4 method, which is 4 drinks and no food.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But the problem is most people expect themselves to do one thing before they go on holidays, and then they're like one day is gone, and they feel like they've ruined everything, and then it spirals in because the shame and stuff like that kicks in after the holiday.
Well, yeah, exactly. And really, holidays are about enjoying your holidays. Like, you don't go on holidays every single week. Like, so you have to enjoy your holiday. That's what I feel like. I was a month away last year and I enjoyed every part of it. I didn't think about anything, on this. But yeah, I kind of watched it a little bit, but I wasn't, be rigid about food during holidays because you have to experience things. And, that's what holidays are all about. So I was in Vietnam last year, so it was a totally different culture and totally different food. So I was just enjoying food. You know what I mean? So I wasn't, it's all about enjoyment. I think like and enjoying food as well. Like, it's not like about being miserable and, having really bland food or whatever. For me, anyway, it's not.
Yeah, and I think it's finding a way that like I think when people you're better off looking at holidays as a way to make memories rather than making it about your waistline.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can get stuck in that mindset of I've worked so hard to get to this point. I'm afraid it's going to be undone, or I'm going to ruin everything when
Yeah.
I kind of come back. But consciously or subconsciously, they may have decided that before they kind of come back, or they may have gone the other harsh method of restricting so much into the holiday, and then the food abundance comes in, and then they're like, before they know it, they're the cookie monster. And that's not a lack of discipline or willpower, but it can feel like it. It can feel like a lack of control.
Yeah, and I think it was very important, really, when I came back off a holiday. I would get the shopping, just go back to normal eating the way I'd eat normally here, like as in the 3 meals, one or two snacks or whatever. So get back into it the minute I come home, if you know what I mean. I get obviously you'd have to go out to the shopping like and everything. Like it takes a few days to phase it in like and everything. But, I think that kind of worked for me, really.
And I think one of the other things was not weighing in when you kind of came back.
Oh,
You're
Jesus,
kind of
no.
waiting, I'm kind of waiting about a week. Now, the scales for people is a head wreck, but it's not even about the scales. It's the fear of what it means. Is essentially what triggers people. The fear of what.
Yeah, I do get it, like, because I've been there as well, like, and you go away on holiday, you come back, yeah, and I know your advice is like, I think after the month-long trip in Vietnam, I think we said, do not step on the scales for about 2 weeks. I feel like because there's no point, like, because it is a head wrecker, like, and everything, and in some cases, you're kind of going, I look at it and see how bad it is, but. I don't think that is really very good at all. I will wait the 2.5 weeks before I even jump on those scales because it takes a while I feel like it takes a while for you to get back into normal eating. You're obviously, well, for me anyway, I know I had drinks and everything when I was away. Had whatever I wanted when I was away, really. So it'll take a while to get back into normal routine. Then don't jump on the scales, obviously, straight away. So. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you were gone a bit small there. Sorry.
Sorry. But it is, but I think a lot of people fall into that mindset when they do step on the scales
Yeah.
of I'm going to check the damage
Yeah.
or see if I got away with it.
Yeah.
And they're the two mindsets that happens. But as you said, you were in like because we're looking for that kind of validation, we're looking for control, and that control method for you was, you know what, I'm just going to get the shop in.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall into place once this happens. At
Yeah,
least
I
the
felt,
first step.
yeah, and even at this, every weekend, like and everything, I do a shop every weekend, and I'd say either Saturday or Sunday, I'd spend a couple of hours and just batch cook for the rest of the week. And so I'd say I do a cook or whatever on Sunday, and I'll get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I know exactly what I'm eating from breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the 3 days, and that gets me to Thursday, and then I'll do something else there. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way I do my week, and that's when I came back from holiday. That's the way I kind of started as well.
Yeah.
And it just takes the pressure of what I'm going to have for dinner. And like I come home after work, then I'll come home and just put something in the microwave, and that's my dinner done. Like, so I don't spend ages cooking or anything in the evening either. Like, you know, but whatever.
One of the big things that you've kind of latched onto maybe is that whole thing that food wasn't the issue.
Just
Uh,
never.
at what point did you start realizing that food wasn't the issue for you and maybe was something else? And share as much or as little as you want to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose. Oops. Okay. So I feel like it's definitely never about the food. Absolutely never about the food. It's always like what you think. It's nearly you're projecting onto food, and you're using it to comfort you on whether you're sad or lonely or whatever. I know for me it came, I say it was about probably 2 years ago now, and it was after that last podcast. I went through a really low time, I have to say. Um I think my mental health was absolutely on the floor. Never been in that position before. The thoughts weren't good. And it was something that somebody, I suppose I was in a low mood anyway, and somebody posted something about their family, and I think I just spiraled a little bit. Um, and I reached an all-time low, I have to say. It was, yeah. Anyway, try not to get emotional about that time. It's still like it brings tears to my eyes, but it's only because I'd never been in that position before. Anyway, I reached out to you and we chatted for a few times or a few occasions, and you advised me to go to therapy, which I did. And getting around to the food thing, really. But um, so I went to therapy for a while, and I felt like the therapy, and after that was kind of like the turning point on um my mindset around food. Like, I mean, even during that period of time, like I had like body image issues, and I just felt as if it just wasn't a really good time, I have to say. But it was just between the therapist and kind of what you had been talking about, body image issues. It's kind of like on what I felt about life in general, I feel like, even. So it was just, you know, and I knew I could see that how you were using food, when things weren't going that well and my mental health wasn't good. I could feel you were going into the slipping back into the not slipping, but kind of using food as a kind of a control mechanism, I think, to kind of, soothe your emotional needs or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so that's kind of what it's absolutely, absolutely never about the food. It's really what you think up here. It's really, what's happening in your life, how you're dealing with things, really. That's what I think, and that's what it was for me. That's all I can say.
And what mechanisms have you maybe brought in that have benefited you
As in for
to
to
now to kind of replace the mechanism maybe the food was
um
being leaned on?
I think the social connection is obviously very important. I do think I do confide in people, and go out for lunch and with friends and everything like that. Go out for a walk. I do actually. I do find that when I am very stressed, I will kind of I would journal at times when I'm stressed, not necessarily all the time. But I do find that it does help writing things down. Um, yeah, things like that. Does
Do you
that answer?
feel
Sorry.
no, makes sense. And I think one of the big kind of keys behind it is it's not that it's never ever the overeating or whatever other mechanism is there that it's never going to happen. I think it's just not beating yourself up for it when it does happen. It's not that you're never ever going to overeat again.
Mm,
I think you needed, from my side, you need a bit of evidence that we could get back into routine after an overeating episode, maybe, rather than berating yourself like you may have practiced that a little bit more. So you did a little bit more practice and kind of saying, Joe, what, right, that's done. Draw a line under it, move on, see what happened, analyze. Let's just kind of go back into routine. And that's what I knew that you were making the real progress.
mm,
It was the less times it was happening. And when it had happened, the eating pattern, we were kind of like, all right, what actually was going on? And majority of the trigger was we just hadn't eaten enough regularly that day.
yeah, I would, yeah.
I'd say 70% of the time.
Mm,
And it's funny that when people say, well, it's probably an under eating problem rather than an overeating problem, you kind of get a deer in headlights a little bit when I say it to people.
yeah.
But I think you're evidence enough of that was probably a play. And it could have been that you just had a busier weekend. Maybe you're
Mm,
back home. It could have just had a busier weekend. And that happens.
yeah.
You weren't beating yourself up for it. And that was the biggest win.
I think that is the best thing, that you don't like, you just move on, like basically you over it, so what? But you just kind of put it to bed after it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And yes, that would never have happened before. Before Shane, BS before Shane.
PC and BS. BS sounds something else. Um, you talk about kind of like the weight um, on the scales. And I think a lot of people will kind of kind of see a lot of similarities with themselves. How have you kind of start to kind of separate yourself from what the scale says versus who Liz is or who Liz is about, and not making it this is what Liz is. Liz is this weight. This is all that Liz is. How you
Um,
separate it between the two.
how do you mean? Sorry, John.
So when you were talking about earlier about kind of like the emotional trigger being the weighing scales,
Yeah.
and when it was up, it might not have been a exactly friendly language we would have been using towards ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
How have we disassociated that, or how have we kind of moved past that?
It's just a number. It's just a number.
But
It's
how
just
have you got to that?
actually, huh?
How have you got to that?
You? Um, it took a while to get to it, I have to say. It took, I know I used to weigh myself like every single day, and we took an average then on a Sunday, we do a check-in like or whatever, but oh, it took ages. It was just one morning. I could not even pinpoint that. And I couldn't even pinpoint exactly what happened. One morning, got up, weighed myself, and it was the lightest I had been, and I was kind of like, sure, that's grand. It wasn't like previous to that, I'd say, yeah, it would have been, yes, brilliant. But it was just like, it just kind of meant nothing, really. Not that it meant nothing, it was a measurement at the end of the day, but it didn't like affect me the way it had used to be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So what do you say now when you see the number or when you do step on? What do you say, or what do you? What's the speak? What's the internal dialogue?
I just went, yeah, that's grand, note it down and that's grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what about the kind of like you mentioned body image? What's body image for you? What's your understanding of body image?
As in,
The term, what does it mean for you?
well, the term, oh God, I should have studied for this. The term body image, as in poor body image, I mean,
Yeah, essentially.
negative. I just felt, I couldn't find anything nice about my body. I couldn't, it just affected my mood completely during that period anyway. And I know people talk about body positivity and everything. I'm not too sure I fully agree with all of that, but the way I look at it is, I'm not looking at you. The way I look at it is that I know that my mood dictates it as well, as in that if I'm feeling a little bit low, I will pick at my body. And I know through listening to other podcasts, including yours, they're kind of like, oh, you catch yourself from, doing that. And I always wondered, how the hell are you supposed to catch yourself doing that? But now I kind of do that, and I couldn't tell you either how I do it. Maybe it's through education and learning about you know you know I think about my body now as that it's strong now, and it gets me to places, and some days I feel good about my body, some days I don't, but I'm not I don't kind of be a bitch to myself about it, if you know what I mean. And now I kind of, I kind of wear the clothes now that I want to, whereas before I was kind of, oh, I better not wear that now because that shows or that shows. You know what I mean? I think it's just, I think it's a lot of it is all in your head. You just have to let it go, like kind of thing. Do you know?
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the body positivity thing, because I think a lot of people's understanding of body positivity is that you love your body every single day. But I think you hit the nail on the head on what you said there about there will be days where you're like more positive about your body, and there will be days where you're like less positive. But it's kind of it's how you're talking to yourself the majority of the time, but also the less reactiveness to when the negative thing kind of comes in. And you're allowed to have negative days. I think that's the bit
Mm,
that I can see from you is you're allowing yourself to actually process things a little bit more, but you're also realizing it probably more to do with, all right, I haven't slept well, or I've maybe had a little bit of a different weekend, or there's something else
Mm.
going on with work. It's normally not even about the body, but the body is the vessel that we tend to burn down first.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it kind of feel has felt like for yourself. But I think the fact that you're less reactive, as I would say the terminology, is
Definitely less reactive about a lot of things.
it's the hardest part. Yeah, I and that's the one thing that I would say. It is that less reactive piece that has been that's what stood to you.
I feel
Uh,
I feel very calm now. I feel very calm. I don't know, I just even like calm about life even. You know what I mean? I just in my head I feel free, if you know what I mean. I'm free of all the baggage that was taking up space, all about dieting. And, back then it was dieting number one. I have to lose weight in order to do this, do that, do the other thing. Now it's like, it's not the most important thing. That's and I know that's a big statement, like, and everything, but it is actually how I feel that it's just slipped down the ranks a bit. And I know in the future I'll go into a fat loss phase, all right, but I'm not going to be dieting like for, a year, if you know what I mean. Sorry, 3 years, I don't know.
yeah, but I know what you're saying. Like that, it's not the only thing about you. It's not the most interesting thing about you. It's like it's something that you do rather than something that you are now. And I think that yo-yo dieter thing was more of a term that we said that's what we are, and it became very personal. It became almost the brand that we were.
Yeah,
And now it's like something that I do, and I'm kind of like, all right, I'm just going to fine tune a few little bits here. I have the tools here. Going to keep my regular meals. Still gonna have wiggle room for the weekend where I kind of go home or meet up with friends. And it's not that beating up piece.
yeah, and it's I was and it is very hard, actually, very hard to listen to somebody doing that because I was away uh, not long ago on a holiday with a very good friend, and she started, I don't like this part of my body, I don't like this. My body is not the way I would have liked it because we were going on a sun holiday. And, it was actually really hard to say. And I actually said to her, I could feel you kind of even saying it. I said, your body is the least interesting thing about you, the shape of your body. Like, and it's like, I actually do believe that. Like, it is you know, and people don't think like that either. Like, but I just, it brought it home to me when she started going on about it, and I thought, wow, that's where I was, if you know what I mean. But anyway,
And if you were to speak to yourself at the start or speak to her again, or imagine you're speaking to yourself when you first started, what would you tell yourself?
don't beat yourself up about the shape of your body. Do you know? And it's
Was you
very
listening?
well.
Would
No,
you
I don't know.
listen?
I
I don't
couldn't
think you would
tell
have
you.
listened.
I couldn't tell you whether I would have listened. Well, I feel like you had to work through things, like, to be fair. I mean, I've worked through, um, you know, I think when I was younger, like, I had comments said about my body, and it took me a while to work through those. And I know I mentioned it on the last podcast, but we had only really talked about it. We didn't really go into it too much, and I felt like there was a lot to unpack out of them. And I need to take my own steps as well, as in, why do I care what those people thought of me, if you know what I mean? And, but then I was very young when they said that. So, and it was said over and over and over again. So obviously I believed it. And through the years, I'm still believed it up until I said it to you, and you were the first person I actually said that to. And I was kind of like, I can't believe I'm saying these things to you. Like, but I felt as if, you know what, if you're going to change, you're going to have to, you know, face them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
took a long time to actually work through them. Just because I said it doesn't mean that it was gone. Like, I say it took the best part of a year working on not myself. I don't kind of like doing things for myself, not caring what other people did or said about me, like, or you know what I mean? Like, it takes a while to kind of, go work through it, I suppose, really, you know. But I feel that's why I feel so much better. Like my head is like free of those comments, and my head feels so much freer now, if you know what I mean, or calmer. I don't know what the word is, but I do feel as if, wow, I'm free of those comments completely now. Do you know? And that was
Yeah.
not, I wouldn't say it's the best part of this process, but it was definitely um, the best thing I got out of it, if you know what I mean. Don't
Yeah,
you
and I
know what
think
I'm saying there?
no, I understand what you're saying. I think when you opened up about that, I was like, all right, the tap is opened up here. So I know there's going to be more coming out,
Or
going to be loosened up. But that's what happens. The first turn is
yeah.
always the hardest one. But you were opening up to kind of sharing it one, but also working through it, writing it out, talking about it, and recognizing and making peace with it and saying, right, that was that person's opinion or that was their
Mm,
issue. And I think if you can make peace with that, it's a hell of a lot easier rather than kind of because when you're a kid, you are a sponge. And if
yeah.
you're told you're brilliant, you'll
Mm,
believe you're brilliant. If you're
yeah.
told you're shite, you're going to believe you're shite.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that will kind of tend to kind of go
Mm,
into. So if you're told that there's something about your body that's wrong, you're going to believe that if it's said to you enough times. And that's what, unfortunately, I do think a lot of people are going to resonate with what you just said there
mm,
about a comment was made
mm.
or comments were made or they would have heard their parents putting themselves down if they've learned that about themselves or I'm being good or I'm being bad or I can't eat this food will make me feel this and this. I think a lot of people will resonate with that the way you've just said.
But it's and it happens like, I mean, I've spoken to you about this. It happened last week to me as well. Like a
Mm-hmm.
comment was said to me in a work situation, and Um, was I upset? Well, I think there was a lot going on that week actually. I was definitely wasn't sleeping well, and anyway,
It
but
wasn't great what was said, in fairness. I'm not going to lie.
what?
It wasn't great what was said.
No, absolutely wasn't. And I know that says more about them than me anyway, but it's like mean girl behavior. Like, and I absolutely was quite disgusted, but I was upset.
Yeah.
It did get to me and it did hurt me. Like, but I know we talked about it and I talked to a couple of other people as well about it, but and you kind of have to talk about these things as well. And it's very hard to sometimes talk about comments, especially the younger me, like receiving those comments, like it was very hard to tell anyone. And I know when things are really tough, I write down things and I send you pictures of what I've written. And that was one of those because I just couldn't even say it. I just had to write it down and just show you the picture of what I had said. But it's like, it's about trying to address the comments. I mean, I don't know. I think people can be so cruel. I think they need to, think before they speak sometimes. But anyway. Uh, I think I'm kind of over that last comment, like and everything. Well, I will be tomorrow when I confront the car.
I was going to say tomorrow is the day, but I think the fact that you're even kind of going to face it head on without confrontation is where you're at. You're kind of like, "John, that wasn't really warranted," but you're also probably know that person's going to try and wrangle themselves out of it. You're kind of like, just wasn't on.
Yeah,
Like,
I think she will try to make it as being a joke,
yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm not. I'm
But
gonna.
that shows where you're at, kind of like that self worth piece and reassurance in yourself now, saying, right, this is what it is once.
Yeah, and like to be fair, like if that happened like 3 years ago, I would have been no, I wouldn't be in the same place. Like I feel I can handle it if you know what I mean. You know.
Still not nice. Doesn't put it
Oh
down.
no, it's still not nice. And yes, I was upset over it. Like, But shit happens like in life. Sorry, I was supposed to swear.
Sorry, it happens. Shit happens. Shit happens.
Shit happens.
Uh, so,
Look,
so
that's life, I suppose, and people can be mean, but I feel like that says more about them than the person that is
but you can
receiving
see
the
how you've
comment.
reframed that from maybe where you've come from the beginning of kind of saying, you know what, that's a them problem rather than a Liz problem,
Yeah,
and that
them
just shows the
problem.
work
Yeah.
that.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last question I'm going to ask you is, if someone listening here feels trapped by yo-yo dieting, by food, by weight loss, by restriction, by calorie counting, what's the one thing that you hope they take away from listening to you right now?
Sign up for shame.
Swipe up
Eat a
for,
mess.
I did not tell Liz to say that. Just putting that
I'm
on
only
the record.
messing with you. Um, what is the one thing? Wow.
What's the one thing you'd hope they take away from your story?
Oh, I don't know. Sorry. What was the one thing? Um, I suppose don't be a dick to yourself, really. I mean, really, it's kind of really what you think in your head. I think you have to change your mindset. And it's like I suppose it's never about the food. That's what I feel like that is nearly the biggest learning. It's actually never about the food. Like it's really how you think and your habits. I just yeah, I think that's yeah. Sorry, I can't really.
No, but I think the two sentences kind of tie in. Like,
Yeah,
don't be a bit dick to yourself, and it's never about the food. Are probably the lessons that I probably have learned from you
right.
along the
You
way.
have learned something from me.
Who knew? Who knew, Liz? Who knew?
Yeah, I
Uh,
rubbed off on you a little bit anyway.
yeah, exactly. After 3 years of kind of like catch ups and calls and messages and stuff like that, yeah, you
And
impart some
comment
wisdom in
or
there.
sorry, jokes, I would have said. Not
Yeah, or just sarcastic comments on
sarcastic comments I meant.
my expense. Yeah, that's basically what happens. Or else some ice cream related content.
Yeah. Well, do you know what, Shane? It really has been a journey for me. Highs and lows, a lot of them, low lows, but to be fair, like you have been brilliant. And I just want to say that, like, because I really embarrassed you now, but no, but you have been
I
brilliant.
know why that's what you're
Really
doing.
supportive. Like, I must say, have been really supportive and just, I know every not every other week I'd seem to come to you with a problem. And you answered all my questions as well.
I knew it
And
was a lot of them.
there was a really lot of times, but I kind of quietened down after a while, and then I just
And
kind
then you sped up again.
of just speed up again. Like, but you have been brilliant. Like, I can never thank you enough. Really. And I know it takes two to tango as well. But you know, anyway, there you
Yeah,
go.
no, I appreciate the kind words, but it's I think the seeing where you've kind of come from, you have had wobbles in the middle
Mm.
along the way, and I would have expected that to happen in even 3 months or 4 months of working with someone, let alone 3 years of working with someone. It's not going to be that straight line. But I think the big thing for me was, even when it was in the pits, you kind of took a step back and say, Shane, right, I need a bit of space here, or can we jump on a call? Or you knew how to kind of manage what you needed, but you're also ready to kind of, particularly when you went to kind of ask Shane, like you asked me, do you know anyone to kind of go and talk to? And that was a big turning
Okay.
point, I feel,
Yeah.
because, and then the next stage of when you went to Vietnam last year, that was a big turning point as well, because I think that was almost a reemphasis of like, all right, this is about living life rather than just about food or weight.
Yeah.
So you did come back from Vietnam a bit, but like you did come back a bit different in how you kind of came back and approaching. I think you realized there's a
It's
lot
my
more.
life.
Yeah, it's a bit more to life, and I think it's pretty cool to see where you're at right now and where you've kind of, even from the first podcast episode that you did to now, it's like a two different people on a different people again.
Sure, I think I said to you earlier, I said the first podcast, like I was absolutely breaking it. And we even had to have a pre-meeting because
Even though you asked to come on.
I was so nervous. And then again, that was like what people thought, like, and everything, I feel like that was what that was like. And like now it's like, well, you asked me this time. Um
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But I was grand, like and that's what that's the biggest change in me, and I know people have seen it as well, like that. I'm so calm, like I mean, I was a little bit nervous, but it was grand.
no, but I think the fact you've made a lot of peace with what's kind of as wishy washy as this is going to sound. This is going to sound very
Yeah,
wishy washy, but you have made a lot of peace with kind of what's happened before,
yeah,
and I think that's kind of why it's kind of a little bit more. Maybe you were still trying to process it back then, and now it's a little bit more natural. You probably walk the walk a little bit more. It's kind of a
yeah.
little bit more day to day rather than, and it's been spectacular, but it's been unspectacular things to get to the
Oh
spectacular.
yeah, absolutely. Sure, that's what life is all about, really. Anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well, you have spectacular and then you don't like. But sure, it's a journey of two halves, I actually would have said. Really, I say the first half up to the first podcast was like unlearning everything and about the habits and the fad diets and everything. And the second half then I felt like it was more a mental health journey. I feel like
yeah,
that, and putting to bed the comments actually. I do think and then obviously life happens as well. Things happen in the family and everything. So, I felt like
yeah.
it was on maintenance quite a lot, actually. But and I
Well,
think that there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. Like it was just that things were busy in life, like if you
yeah, and there was times where you were kind of saying, "I want to diet now." Like, are we dieting here because something else going on? Are we dieting here because you want to? And more often than not, it was because there was something else kind of going
yeah,
on and making you,
just wanted the control nearly
yeah.
in
And
my life.
that's, but the fact you were actually able to challenge it and kind of say, "All right, let's just go another week," and we took it by week basis
Yeah,
rather than kind of going, "All right, here's a 3 year goal. Where do you want to be by 3 years?"
yeah, yeah.
Because where you're at right now, if and some of the work you've done of like if you had said to yourself in 36 months
Mm.
that you'd be the food freedom would be down, the body image stuff would be work in progress, but a hell of a lot further than where you're at. That you're looking after yourself that little bit more in what you want and living your life by your values.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you thought you would have.
Oh, absolutely not. Like I mean, I was going to for fat loss, like and everything.
Yeah,
So like as soon as I had achieved that, that was me gone. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that there was all this other stuff that was going on in my head. I didn't realize it at the time. That I needed to unpack it. But and then after the first bit, I felt like, oh, well, I've kind of got to a stage now, but I feel as if there's more there or something like that. I felt subconsciously, I felt that wasn't ready to leave you then, or, not that I actually had even thought about that, but I just felt that there was more there, but I didn't know what it was, if you know what I mean. I didn't know what I needed to go through.
There was something still like kind of not eating at you, but kind of there was still something missing for you. And I get it. I kind of felt that from you because
Yeah.
when you sent me the message 3 4 weeks ago, kind of saying, "I'm finishing up," I was like, "You were ready," and there was no,
Yeah. And I know it took well, actually, I think we
yeah,
spoke about it in January, actually.
yeah,
And I felt like I was feeling it out, really.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know why but in one respect, I didn't think I was ready, but I knew I was ready when I said it. And do you know what? Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
sure, it is what it is. Life moves on and all that, but
exactly.
it's
But
definitely worth the investment. That's what I would say.
and it's been amazing to see where you're at, and it's been amazing to kind of meet you in person as well, and kind of meet you at events. You've even been in my house.
I have been even in your house, yeah, yeah.
She stalks me too. It's great.
What?
I have my own stalker now. It's great.
I know where you live.
Exactly. Liz knows where I live. So Liz, I can't thank you enough for everything. I can't thank you enough for doing the chats again, and I do hope someone has taken something from this. So I can't thank you enough for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.